in operations in this company has had a Christmas tree up in her office for probably 2, maybe 3 weeks already. I love it. I mean, talk about a culture fit, right? Okay. So what we're going to talk about is first of all, I want to see if you can relate to this. There was a time in my life that it didn't matter how hard I worked, things never came together. Okay. It didn't matter how hard I worked. It was like, I mean, I sat at Starbucks, I listened to meditations, I went to church, I did everything, and I did everything right, and tried to control my mind, tried to control everybody else's mind around me. Don't talk negative around me, because if you talk negative around me, then my life is going to fall apart, right? I was like, I don't want any of that juju on me. And so I kind of lived in this insane intensity. And in that intensity, there is a lack of flow, and money needs to flow, right? Like, that's why when you get it and you hoard it, it's a dangerous thing, because every action comes out of our mind. And so I was trying to do all the things, right? I was trying to do the church. I was trying to do the laws of attraction. I mean, I was willing to put a red thing on my wrist from Kabbalah. Like, I tried everything, right? And I was just like, whatever it's going to take, I want to win in life. And I knew that at a very young age. And so as I progressed, I had these little inches of wins, and I would have these one-on-one conversations with my friends, and they would say the nicest and kindest things to me about my advice. But behind closed doors, my life wasn't working. Every guy I dated, it didn't work out. Some of them, I had a guy that I was crazy about who reminded me of Tony Robbins. Some of you guys may have heard this story before, but this guy left me in a parking lot twice, like literally forgot me at events. He was in network marketing, and he did sound like Tony Robbins, and he'd get up and he'd speak, and he was at the top of the field, and he was incredible. But behind closed doors, he was depressed, right? Like, he would go to bed and he would sleep in bed for like 2 weeks, like just sleep for 2 weeks, So I share all of this with you because I know what it's like to want something so bad, but not know how to get out of your own way. You're trying everything. You want to feel passionate. You want to be a finisher. You want to follow through, and you keep getting up to the starting line, and it feels like the finishing line never comes. Anybody relate with me on that? Put yes if you do, right? And so, excuse me. And so I wanted to talk about that today, because it wasn't that the world was excuse me. I have this frog in my throat. It wasn't that the world was hard. It was that the way I thought didn't work. And the way I thought was very unforgiving. It was unforgiving for myself. It was unforgiving for anybody who was human around me that had a negative thought or a negative idea. It was unforgiving. That's like the best word that I can come up with at this point in time. When I was sitting down, I was writing out, my notes on how to really land this communication with you. The word unforgiving just kept coming up. And I was like, that is really what it was. I didn't forgive myself for not following through. I had a belief and identity about myself that was not true, but I spoke all the right things because I thought, it does say biblically, you have authority when you speak, it has to create, right? But when you don't believe or you negate it with your thoughts and your feelings, it stops manifestation. Okay, it just does. And so I'm going to tell you what I learned at that point in time, and what I believe today to be true, and I hope that belief keeps growing. Okay, like permission that we're all human and continuing to grow. What I believed is if I said all the right things, I looked all the right ways, I sounded good, right, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I had people around me that only spoke positive and, for God's sakes, never admitted anything was wrong. And I know this sounds extreme, but I know some of you guys are living it. Right? Like I know that some of you guys, when somebody says something negative in your space, can I get a T in the chat for you have a trigger when somebody negative is around you? Put a T in the chat. Right? Put a T in the chat. Please do not drop links for your business in the chats. Somebody just dropped who's a healer. Please don't do that. right? Like that I talk about tagging online when people tag to get on people's stuff. Don't do that. It's not classy at all. Okay. So we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month to be able to reach people. And if we're not in partnership, I don't want you to use my platforms to be able to build your business. Okay, that doesn't work. Can we get a yes on that? Like, keep it classy. Let's keep it classy. I'm not going to go on your platforms and poach people. Like, keep it classy, right? Okay, so there's enough of you guys. See the T's in the chat? You guys look at the T's in the chat. Okay, so those are people who have a trigger around somebody being negative. Okay, but here's the challenge with that. And I get it. Because I have a trigger if I hear somebody's talking behind my back. I have a major trigger with that. Like, and I am working on that. That there is, like, it's like I worked really hard on not being a people pleaser and not having a looking good conversation. I had to get rid of that to get on a stage and speak, because I was an emotional wreck every time I had to get on a stage and speak, because I needed to be good enough, right? Which you could imagine, when you're an emotional wreck, you're not good at all. You know, and you don't even want to go do another talk because your emotions are so high that it exhausts you, right? Who are my people who are exhausted right now? Put an E in the chat. Who might be? Well, you might be exhausted, Melody, because you have a little baby on you, but so that's a different kind of exhaustion, right? But put an E in the chat if you're someone who's exhausted right now. 90% of the time, it's because of the way we take action on something has a level of stress or people pleaser or a looking good conversation, a need to be good, right? Good enough. You know, it's all connected to self-worth, because the truth is, I think about what I do and what most of you guys do. What do you do for a living? Go in the chat and let me know. What do you do for a living? What industry are you in? What do you do for a living? Just go in the chat and let me know. I'm curious. Marketing, nurse practitioner, healing, sales, content writer, entrepreneur, health and wellness, film. Gosh, there's such a diversity, isn't it? Isn't that awesome? Teaching, writers, online post-education, designer, teacher, consultant, branding, entertainment. We have a lot of entertainment. Private jet broker. We should be talking. My private jet, my pilot I know this is, my friend said, this is high society problems. I'm happy to say that I have high society problems, but so we use my friend's pilot to fly our family around with our plane, and he just timed out of his insurance because of his age, and so we're not using our plane to go back to Puerto Rico this weekend, and we're flying commercial, which is fine. Flying commercial, I'm not pompous at all. And if you want to hate me for that, then you just hate yourself for not showing up enough to be able to create those type of results, because I won't take a hater for the fact that I've created results in my life, because I know what it took for me to get out of the place of intensity, unforgiveness, non-follow through, working my tail off and not getting the results, and what shifted in me to get here. Do you know what I mean? And I will never apologize for doing that personal development, because when you do it, then what happens is you get paid back, right? The amount of income we have is directly correlated to our effectiveness to help other people, right? How many of you guys have been following me for a while? Put the number of years or months that you've been following me online, or maybe you're in one of our programs, right? 1 year, 5 years, 2.5 years, 9, 2, 3 months, 6 months. Oh, we got some newbies. 5 years, 3 months, 2.5 years, HCL. Somebody's done HCL, meant to be live. 3 years, 6 months, 4 years, 2 months, 2 days, 6 months. So good. Okay. So some of you guys have been around long enough to, you could see my progression, even in my messaging, right? So that being said, I got diverted by the private jet broker on here. But that being said, I want to talk to you today about, it's not good enough to just start. We have to develop the skills to become a finisher. Okay, so I want everybody to write the word finisher down. I want you to write the word finisher down. Okay, because your identity of yourself is more important. It is so much more important than the need for somebody else to see you, to hear you, to any of that. Okay, so I know as a wife, I need to be heard sometimes. I know that. I don't need to be heard as a businesswoman. And the reason why I don't need to be heard as a businesswoman is I'm neutral. But in my marriage, I'm not neutral. I would like to get neutral, right? But I'm not neutral. So I still have a need for my husband to hear me, which is all about me. It's all about me, and I know it, right? But I still have that need, right? And so I broker in things to my strategy in life with my husband, which is we go on marriage walks. And when we go on marriage walks, nothing breaks with my family. But if we don't do marriage walks, then Ash and I don't do husband-wife meetings very well. We don't do date night very well. We love food, but we would rather be with friends. So it's kind of like one of those things, like when who am I dating, people? My dating professionals, go ahead, put dating professional or dating pro in the chat. I'm going to tell you, if you're single, you need to go follow one of these people and see who you need to hire, because I think life is better with a partner than will ever be alone. You know what I mean? Like, and if you got some trauma there, get some help, because wherever there's trauma, there's a limitation in life. And in order for us to become a finisher, we have to forgive our hurts. And unfortunately, because that was a mic drop, by the way. In order to become a finisher, you must forgive your hurts. This would be a great moment to actually just take a moment and just say, where are you hurt? Okay, let me prime your mind a little bit. You might be hurt around the fact that a campaign didn't work. I have a past client, and the reason why I always think about her is her resilience. And I would honestly tell you she still works at 30% of her commitment. But she came to me at about $320,000 in debt. She'll actually be at Zone Event. And that's a lot of debt. And she did not file bankruptcy. In a couple years, she paid it off being in our coaching programs. Okay, she did leadership, which is everything. And then she did our business coaching program. She did them together. Anyway, long story short, in 2 years, she paid off all that debt and put money in the bank. And now she can generate $500,000 in a very short period of time, a quarter, and she could take the rest of the year off. And she does that stuff. And I don't think that's right, but it is not my life. Do you know what I mean? It's not. And the reason why I don't think that's right is because I believe that we all have finisher lines in front of us that we haven't crossed. And so that person, whenever she did, I teach list building a lot for some of you guys who don't know me very well. The reason why I teach list building, how to build an email and text message list, is it's an asset that you can go anywhere in the world, right? How many of you guys, if I sent out an email or text and said, you can get on a phone call with me today, and I will answer any question you have about building your business. You choose the right question and I'll answer you and tell you how to do it. Absolutely no cost. Who would take that call? Put call in the chat. Who would take that call? Put call in the chat. Now I want all of you guys to look at the chat right now. Look at the chat, the word call. That means all those people would take that call with me. Okay, do you think that if I talk to all those people, I don't know how many are, like a lot, right? Do you think, let me ask another question. If to work with me, it was $15,000. To work with me, it was $15,000. Who would still be in to work with me if it was $15,000? Put a 15 in the chat. I mean, I'll finance it for you, whatever. Put 15 in the chat. I want you to look at this. Yes, for 1 year. Tanya's like, let me get specific on this. Okay. So look at the 50s. Put 15 in the chat if you believe that if I finance 15,000 or you could pay in full, whatever, would you work with me? Okay. And some of you guys I know are already working with me. Okay. So look at 15. Okay. So this is about forgiveness, because if I would never have forgiven myself for breaking down, not doing well, whatever, I would never have created an audience of people that I had any belief that I could help, because my identity would have been in what I was doing. Okay, so follow me here for a second, because I'm going to help you unleash today. Okay, and you have to become a finisher. To become a finisher, you have to be forgiving. Because there are people in your life, there are situations that you have not forgived. And the challenge is you don't understand how much that's hurting you from creating your results because you can't run away from you. So my client that was $320,000 in debt, she paid it off in 2 years. However, when she would do the list build, her list build would be like 300, 400 people. She did 15 or 16 list builds in a year. That's insane to me. I mean, that I think it was a year. I mean, maybe it was a year and a half. It was like, it was insane to me. Do you know what my average client does? Once or twice a year, and then they don't do it again for like 3-4 years until their money starts getting hurt. And then they go out and they do the list build again. Who's that about? It's about them. I'm going to go out and do the effort to build the community when I'm hurting. When your heart shifts, see, because when you're hurting and you have lack of forgiveness, you make decisions that cause you to be limited. When your heart really turns over to the mentality of, I'm going to be the change that the world needs, what happens is you drop your anger, you drop needing to be right, you drop all of this stuff. And what happens is you shift into, how do I be in contribution and team with everybody around me? Which I'm going to tell you something. I'm not perfect and neither are you. And if we hung out for a week, you're going to find some things about me and I'm going to find some things about you that are human. And those things can very easily cause a level of judgment and unforgiveness that can be spread through gossip. Do you get what I'm saying? Because then I could go to Leanne and be like, Leanne, Holly's like this. Like, Holly's just like this. She's like this type of doctor and she's like this. But what happened? I hung out with Holly in a cabin, or I hung out with Holly and I watched her online, or I watched her online. She had a day that she was mad. And she spoke in a way that I was like, oh, so offended. And first of all, if you guys knew Holly Donahue, it's almost impossible to be offended by her. So she's just not that type of character. But if she had a human moment, she'd probably mask it a little bit online because she is very gracious, right? But pretend she was all fire and she went out there, then it'd be really easy for people to attach an offense to her. And when they attach an offense to her, then they become right. And here's the deal. Finishing becomes impossible. My friends, who do you need to forgive today? Who do you need to forgive today? Go in the chat. Who do you need to forgive today? I need to forgive myself. I need to forgive somebody yesterday. I need to forgive myself. I need to forgive my husband and myself, my husband, myself, my mom, my ex, everyone. I love you, Janine, everyone, my ex-boss, my husband, me, myself, my family, my husband, myself, a lot of that, right? So what I love about people who contribute on the chat and people who don't just multitask and listen to these things and kind of get half of what life has to offer, yeah, I'm calling you out because you're ripping yourself off, right? The reason what I love about people who go in the chat and they contribute is you start to stop thinking you're nuts or that there's something wrong with you, because there's not. You're human. But if you truly want to see what you're made of, you're going to have to lead an army of people. That army might be 100 people. It might be 300 people. It might be 2,000 people. It might be 1,000,000 people. I don't know what your declaration is or how big you see yourself. But what I do know is that if you can keep expanding your identity, because I know this for myself, if I can, like, I'm crazy enough that I believe I could walk into any company and literally be a contribution. Like, I believe I could raise the bottom line of any company and make it more financial. Why? Because I love people. And you don't have a business problem, you have a people problem. And I have no issue anymore. Who was on yesterday? Put why if you were on yesterday's training. So I'm okay if you leave me. I'm okay if you don't buy from me. I'm okay. You know why? Because I know the next generation is coming in tomorrow. And because I know that, I don't look at a buyer with dollar symbols on them. So for some of you guys who feel weird about selling, I want you to write this down because you have to sell. You just do. You should be recruiting every single day. Whether you're a doctor and you call it like doctors and dentists, they market. I have a lot of friends who help dentists and doctors market. Like when you are a patient, you are marketed to. Okay, they market. Attorneys market, right? They market. Coaches, consultants, teachers, we market. Teachers, you might get a job in a school district, but you market yourself to be hired. Everything comes, if marketing is on point, sales is easy. Some of you guys have heard me say that, right? So many people try and focus on sales without marketing. So this goes back to every word that comes out of your mouth attaches to a group of people out there. And if you want to grow fast, you have to be flexible and forgiving, flexible and forgiving, flexible and forgiving, flexible and forgiving, because I am certain that a lot of people are letting you down right now. I am certain that you know how to get a lot of things done better than half the people in your space. I am certain that you are completely capable. If things aren't moving fast enough, I am certain you have a leadership challenge and you haven't become forgiving enough or flexible enough. So you could be the most difficult person on the planet in front of me. And I might bump up against you for a second, and then I'm going to shift. And I'm going to make a decision. And this is what all great leaders do. Are you going to be somebody that is worth my time to build with? Are you going to contribute to my life? Are you going to contribute to my husband's life? Are you going to contribute to my family's life, my kids' life? Are you going to be a contributor or are you going to be a taker? Because if you're going to be a taker, you're going to be somebody who's going to be insistent on complaining. And if that's the case and you don't want to shift, that's the only time I'm out. I will stay with you in the fire, and then eventually I will ask you the question, do you want to shift? Like, do you want the same thing? Like, do you want me to help you move forward? Or do you want to be right about all the problems? Because I know for certain, if you want to be right about all the problems, I'm going to have to motivate you every single week. And I don't got enough life left for that. When I had a self-worth issue, I would have done that. I would have motivated you all the time. I would have been there for you to push you up. Now I'm just like, I don't have enough life left to do that. And I've learned that the most talented people are not the people who end up at the top. You get what I'm saying? They're not. If my husband was here, he'd be like, she's been saying that for years. They're the most talented people, the best salespeople, the most talented people, the best leaders. I'm not going to say best leaders because best leaders are at the top. They're not at the top. It literally comes down to the person who could lead their emotions to be flexible and forgiving fast. Those are the ones that end up with the big checks. They're the ones that God blesses with armies of people to lead. They're also the ones that will not spend time sitting at a table if you're complaining. So here's my final words to you. I used to be a great starter. I hired the coaches. I started the books. I did all the things, but I never finished. And the truth is, it was my own torment knowing that I wasn't going to finish. Every time I hired somebody, I knew I wasn't going to finish. And that's why it was emotionally difficult for me to spend money I didn't have because I knew that I wasn't going to finish. And I might mask it and pretend it has to do with other people and their communities. But the truth is that I had the common denominator. You guys hearing me? Yes. I'm hoping to be very vulnerable and honest with you. It's not a death sentence. Because as soon as I started to control my mind, and I made a very, very simple commitment to myself, and that was, I finish everything I start. 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 And now my son says, Zach, get off the iPad. Mom, I'm not done this game. Sumter Kandahari's finish everything we start. And I'm like, oh, You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I got it. When are you going to be done that game? In like 2 minutes, mom. Okay. I'm like, you got to keep your word. Like when that's done in 2 minutes, you're off the iPad. Yes, you got it, mom. But you know where else that comes into play? If I drop a swear word, I'm still trying to class it up. I'm trying to Joel Osteen it up, I say, because I am Christian and I am biblical, and I know it's not. I know being overweight is a sin. I know swearing is a sin, and I know infidelity is a sin, and I know I'm not the person to judge that. I'm human working through my stuff. And so I still drop some bombs. And when I do, we have to do push-ups in my house. Right. And so we went skiing a couple years ago and I had like 100 push-ups, a lot. And so it wasn't because I was excited. I swear when I'm excited. I don't swear when I'm mad. I really swear when I'm excited. Maybe I swear when I'm mad sometimes. And so I had 100 push-ups and my son, my little boy, looked at me and said, Mom, you do 10 and I'll do 90. And he goes, because you've been skiing all day and I want to do it for you. We finish what we start, Mom. You get what I'm saying? Like now I'm teaching him how to open the door for grandma, right? Open the door for grandma, open the car door for grandma, open the car door for grandma. And then he just climbs over grandma, right? So my point is I don't want anybody to listen to this live or listen to our Shanda On Demands and feel like you're destined in the identity that you have. You can change it today. It all comes down to a simple hack, a leadership hack that you put on yourself. You're leading your thoughts, you're leading your mind, you're leading your actions. All your actions come from your thoughts. So if you're holding resentment, righteousness, anything on other people for the reason why you don't have what you want has anything to do with somebody else, I'm telling you, you got to get more committed to what is the destiny you said, what is the goal you said you were going to create, and finish what you start. So even if I hate a book, I will finish the darn frickin' book. I'm reading a book right now. I can't stand. I have no interest in finishing it, but I cannot afford to go back to the girl I used to be that started things and didn't finish things. So it's not just a book. And the devil will try and tempt you in the details. And I'm telling you, you cannot let go of your excellence. And so if you can keep that rule, I'm certain you'll have a great run to the end of the year. If you can reset your goals, ask yourself if you had a goal that is not complete. How many of you guys have a goal that is not complete right now? Like, can this be a great moment? What's the goal that you have that is not complete right now? What is that goal? What is the goal that you have that is not complete right now? Any of you guys? Completing a summit, work system, buy a farm, relaunching my business. Oh my God, if you need to relaunch your business, you need to go to thezoneevent.com/gold. Thezoneevent.com/gold. Go get a ticket for Zone Event. Right? End of November. You're insane to not be in that room. I can promise you, you will not have to think about what you focus on to make money for the next 12 months after Zone Event. November 28th, 29th, and 30th, Austin, Texas. Be in that room. Thezoneevent.com/gold. If you're coming, bring somebody. Just so you know, our hotel block is almost done. They're going to raise the price of the hotel. So go to thezoneevent.com/gold and get in that event. I will hold the piece of money. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will show you how to not think about what you're working on. That's the new and improved training that we're putting into that event. You know what I mean? So get to that event, be smart. And if you're a client of mine and you're not coming to that event, stop it. Get in that room. Okay? Get in that room. Don't be in, if you're a client of mine, you're like, I'm not going to come to my mastermind. I'm not going to come to Zone Event. You're like, why is it okay for you to start things and not finish? My clients get a ticket to the event. Why would it ever be okay for you to start something and not finish? All of these things are the finisher. You guys get what I'm saying? So if you're building a business, go to thezoneevent.com/zone or /gold. Sorry. Okay. So my husband was shocked at, hello, the hotel room. Yes, Carrie, because the Fairmont is a 5-star hotel. And we have an incredible hotel price that is like 2-star pricing for a 5-star. You want to talk about anointing? or a gift from heaven, I'm telling you, there's going to be millionaires exploding from the zone event. I know it. I've seen it. I've seen the room and the people in the room. I've seen it. I like, there was like this, I know I'm getting weird, but it's just the truth, right? Like there's these lights going up to heaven and there's people being pulled up to heaven. Well, guess what? In the scriptures, I knew 2,000 places that the scriptures talked about money and wealth. But Dave Ramsey since has like, I feel like he knows the Bible better than me. He says there's 4,000 mentions of wealth and money in scriptures, more than faith, prayer, the laws. You guys who are into the laws of the universe, right? Like they're all pulled out of scripture, right? The laws, all of that. Money trumps it. So if you don't have enough of it in your bank account, you need to be at zone event. Stop begging for the way and then you don't show up, right? Stop begging for the way. The way shows up, you're like, it's not comfortable. I have to get on 2 flights or I got to fly from Europe. There's people that watch Shanda On Demand at 3:00 in the morning because they value the fact that wealth, they know intuitively that wealth is supposed to be theirs. But guess what? It ain't flying out of the sky, because if you're not willing to get on a plane, book a hotel room, figure it out, then why do you ever think God's going to bless you with an army of people to lead? He's not. It's the best leaders that are at the top, not the most talented. All right, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to do Shanda On Demand tomorrow. Then I'm going to go speak over at Savvy for a couple minutes. And then I'm going to be heading to the airport to fly back to Puerto Rico. So next week, I'm going to be in my new home in Puerto Rico. Somebody give me some love. I'm so excited to be there. And I'll give you guys a tour. Okay, guys? I'll give you guys a tour next Monday of our new home. So much love to you. Become a finisher. Don't be a starter. It's all about your identity. And I'm telling you, it comes down to you must make a list of the people and the things that you are not forgiving and let it be in the past. It'll free up this bandwidth of receiving. It'll free up your identity. You will feel like a champion because you were the one that let it go. You will feel like a champion. You must feel like a champion to be able to lead an army of people, because enough people are going to try and pull you down, the more people who know you. So be a champion, know your identity, be flexible and forgiving. Hope that you love this Shanda On Demand. You guys on the On Demand Mastermind, I'm going to switch back to you. I'm sending you so much love. Bye, social media.